While we love the competition, the glory, and the roar of the crowd, there is so much more to sports, and nowhere is that more evident than on the rugby pitches of Laos. From the capital city to the rural villages, rugby is making a positive impact across the country. Through the Lao Rugby Federation's development programs and the transnational Weredragons Rugby Club, people are coming together from around the world, and overseas Lao people are reconnecting with their heritage. In Laos, rugby is not just a game, it's a life-changing opportunity for individuals to develop the skills and the tools they need to succeed in all aspects of life. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the C4 podcast. This is John Messina. We have an exciting show today. We've actually got 4 people in 4 different time zones. It was a bit of a challenge to pull this episode together, and unfortunately, due to some of those challenges, Ko ended up not being able to be here. Ko Chandeka, the normal host of the show, so you are stuck with me today, but that's okay. We'll make it a good show. So before we jump in, we're here with some folks from the Lao Rugby Federation. And before that, though, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Phil Groves of DAC Management and the Chicago Hounds Rugby Club. I got to spend some time with Phil and several of his associates at the Chicago Bears game this weekend, thanks to Megan Knight, one of our guests here. They're doing incredible things for rugby, both in the U.S. They're a primary sponsor of Team U.S.A., as well as supporting the Lao Rugby Federation and rugby in Laos and developing rugby internationally. So thanks, Phil, for all of the great work you do. We're excited to talk about rugby today, and we'll hear a little bit more about that as we get going. So with that, we've got some exciting guests. We're going to kind of do some quick introductions. Megan, I'm going to start with you. I first heard about Megan from our interview with Tino Papavian. If you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to it. And also, while I was at the embassy in Vientiane, Laos, with our SEA Games athlete contingent, they mentioned some of the great stuff Megan and the Lao Rugby Federation were doing there. So Megan, why don't you just kind of introduce yourself, tell everybody where you're from and how you got into rugby.
Thanks, John. Really excited to be here. I started playing rugby in 20 years ago, and I played in Colorado, where I was born, and I played in high school and in college. I was fortunate enough to represent the U.S.A. in under 19s and under 23s. So really loved rugby, but I was working with U.S.A. Rugby after I graduated from university in the youth development department. And I really wanted to do something more kind of like sport for development. And I heard that in Laos, there was something like that going on. And so I contacted the Lao Rugby Federation, which was very small at that stage, and asked if they needed any help. And there was a tournament coming up between Laos and Cambodia a few weeks later, and they said I could come to help and volunteer to support that. So I hopped over, and within a couple of days, I loved it, and I realized I probably wouldn't leave. So I stayed there, and now 20 years later, I'm still there. So really happy to be able to see all that Lao Rugby's done and to be able to have been a part of it over these years. I was volunteering and working with the Lao Rugby Federation up until 2017. And so I was really working with Vieng and the team and starting out the rugby and life skills curriculum called Pass It Back that they use. And then in 2017, Lao Rugby was doing so well with that curriculum, and they were doing such great stuff. And an NGO called Child Fund was seeing the effectiveness of that curriculum. And so they kind of picked it up and worked on a way to run it globally with other rugby federations. And so a couple of years later, I moved over to work with Child Fund and to support really like the global portfolio that they're doing with World Rugby and other rugby federations to use the Pass It Back curriculum to support more young people to learn life skills through rugby. So I'm really excited to have had a chance to learn from Lao Rugby and to see that, you know, what could be accomplished with it. And I feel really fortunate to get to work alongside Vieng and see all that she's doing and accomplishing. And that's my story.
Great. So now we have Anna coming out of Berkeley, California. Anna, go ahead and introduce yourself.
So excited to be here. My name is Anna. I was first introduced to the sport in 2017 during my first week in college. Up to that point, I've always been an athlete. I did martial arts, so I got my black belt in karate. Then I played a lot of basketball and volleyball. It's kind of funny because I never intended on playing rugby. It kind of serendipitously became my thing. I wanted to try out for the college basketball team, but my first year mentor was like, you need to go to one rugby practice. And from that day on, I've been hooked. It's been my thing. So that's kind of my serendipitous introduction to rugby. I now play for a women's team out here in Berkeley, and I'm based in California, as you mentioned, but I grew up on Maui. Both my parents are from Laos. My mom actually lives in Laos, so I visit quite frequently to visit her as well as practice with the team.
Great, great. Yeah, and your story is not unusual. When we interviewed Tino and Jerry, two rugby players as well, they both were football players. Later, they got into rugby, and I think it's because it's just not so popular here in the U.S. That a lot of people tend to get it in later. We don't have a lot of the leagues where 5, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds like we do with soccer or football. So kind of a very typical story from what I've heard on it. So, and then we have from the CEO of the Lao Rugby Federation herself, Viengsamai Souksavanh. Veng, go ahead and why don't you introduce yourself?
Yes, John's very excited. My name is Viengsamai Souksavanh, CEO of the Lao Rugby Federation. I was the coach for the Lao national team for under 17 and seniors. I'm one of the World Rugby educators, and I have been to the executive scholar for World Rugby and one of the member of Asia Rugby Women's Advisory Committees. First, I picked up rugby on 2007. So I was a player in high school, and the federations they sent some staff to do some rugby activities. And after that, I joined the training with the federations, and I also joined the club. It's called Vientiane's Lions, and I have been involved for all level with the rugby. And when I play, I was not get selected to be a national team player because the coach said that I'm too small and I cannot join the teams. But I haven't give up. And on 2014, I was represented to the Lao national team to be a captain for women's team into the Asian game in South Korea. Right now, my knee is get injured, but I also love to join or to play rugby.
Okay, very good.
Yep.
Well, before we kind of jump into something, Megan, your story is interesting because you grew up in Colorado, but you've now been living in Laos for quite a long time. How was it adapting to life there and just adjusting to the culture? Seems like you took to it very quickly, but kind of walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, especially because the rugby community embraced me right away, and that is a rugby thing kind of globally. And so I started training the day I arrived and just joined in with the teams and the players and being in her teammates. So it's been a really welcoming environment and really fairly easy transition. Sure, I mean, Laos is a bit different than Colorado, but really great place, really like obviously some of the best people in the world, so easy.
Okay. And then can you go into a little bit more about your work with Child Fund and the charity specifically?
Yeah, so Child Fund Rugby is a department under Child Fund Alliance, and that's a network of NGOs globally, and Child Fund NGOs globally. And so there's like a lot of different parts of our mission in terms of helping young people to improve their quality of life around education, health, nutrition, and other things. One of the things we always work on is looking for ways for girls and women to become more active in community spaces and to overcome some of the different kinds of barriers that are presented for girls and women to be leaders and to be able to access, services and things in the community. And so Child Fund was really interested in what Lao Rugby was doing around the Pass It Back curriculum, because it really showed how actually in Laos right now, or especially at that time and now, think of rugby as a girls' sport, because it was brand new until the work of the Lao Rugby Federation started up, and that was in 2001. And over the years, they grew up a base of around 300 players, but so many girls and women like Vieng. And as they expanded to other parts of the country, no one knew what rugby was, and so there wasn't like a narrative that it belonged to boys or men or anyone else. And so then as Vieng and her teammates went around, coaching and training other girls and women, more girls and women thought like, hey, this, here's a new sport, and football, like soccer, already has a narrative that it's for boys and men. And so they were like, all right, soccer is for boys and men and rugby is for girls. And so now, there's definitely, it's like 52% female participation. So there's lots of great like boys and men involved in the community and things like that as well. But really cool to see the opportunity for a sport to grow in that kind of more gender equitable way. And then to take it a step further, so like Child Fund, that's the kind of things that they're looking for, the kind of like life skills, learning outcomes that they want to see, and the community and the donors that fund their work are looking for that kind of thing. So they were really intrigued and interested in the model, and then how they could support Lao Rugby in those early days in terms of growth, but then also really look, as Lao Rugby took over the model and was able to really grow and expand on their own, then Child Fund is really looking at how to support that growth in other parts of Cambodia, Philippines, and globally now, Turkey, Madagascar, Malawi, Australia, even working with the Chicago Hounds and some opportunities there in the U.S.
Yeah, that's something that's really interesting, because I'm not huge into rugby. From what I've seen, it tends to be more of a male sport. I actually looked at the stats before this. It's about 2/3 men, about 1/3 women. But somehow in Laos, I guess because you guys built it from the ground up, it's basically 50-50, right? It's pretty much equal, which is amazing. And maybe Megan and Vang, tell me a little bit about, because women in sports in Laos, especially an aggressive sport like this, is not something I've typically seen, but you've managed to get it equal. Were there a lot of barriers for the women to succeed in the sport, to get in the sport? Maybe start talking about that. Maybe Vang start and then Megan.
Yeah. Rồi. As you said, we stand on the ground for 50. It still have some challenge or barrier for women. Even we started 50-50. We still have a lot of challenge. I will tell you a little bit the context that we operate with Lao more broadly for like you or other people who are not familiar with this. Sport is typically a low priority in less developed countries like Laos, and three areas that affects ours. It development challenges like education and nutrition, gender inequality, and the lack of the safe spaces. The development challenges facing Laos have a significant effect on students, especially in the education and nutrition. Many children, especially in the rural community, have a limited access to equality for more educations. And additions, substantial abuse and poor nutrition have a negative impacts on the physical and mental health of people in Laos, especially the youth. Challenges are amplified for girls and women in Laos, including early marriage and childbirth, and favor opportunity for quality education.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think just like being said, so in the first instance, when Child Fund was supporting the work of Lao Rugby and the Pass It Back curriculum, it was in Zhangquang, in some really rural villages in Zhangquang, and getting more than 50% girls and women playing and coaching rugby. So it was really exciting to see that. And as the Pass It Back curriculum really took off, there were a lot of really remarkable girls and women coming through that pipeline who were being role models and showing other girls and women that, you could stay in school until, you could go to university, you could, graduate from high school, you could come back to rugby or come back to coaching after having a baby, and you could, get married and still play and participate. And so that kind of, those kind of changes were really exciting to see, and to really see how the whole community was built around, building up the sporting opportunities. Back in 2012, when Lao Rugby really started to pilot the Pacific curriculum, there were only 3 rugby clubs in Laos, and now there are 8 clubs, and half of them have female presidents, and really most of them are run by youth, like 24, 25-year-old presidents, vice presidents, like board members, and just like a really young, passionate community who wants to see the sport grow and support their communities in a lot of different ways. So really exciting to see that even though there are all those barriers that being mentioned, that the sport's really playing an opportunity and trying to, build the healthy and safe communities for everyone.
Yeah, and with soccer being such a popular sport in Laos, do you have trouble sort of competing or convincing athletes, hey, give this a try instead of just soccer? I guess especially among men in Laos, right? They love soccer, it seems like. I don't know your thoughts, Megan or Ving.
วิ่งยากบ่ที่หับสมัครนักกีฬาเขาจะมักเทบานหลายกว่าบ่หรือจังได
Really, really hard. Even we going deeper on the village, not just the districts. They still have many like many convincing from parents, from neighbors, that they want the kids to have more money going to works rather than just like you learn the sports and you don't have any money to pay the cost of your life. But actually our program is just like providing some sport and life skill for them kind of adapting on their life. 4 modules that we are working on, like planning for the future, so you can plan ahead for your future, what you want to be, how you want to save money. Like if you can think of in the you zone about what in the rural urban rural โดย they just want their kids to have a family and a lot of babies, but actually they don't have any money to buy food or buy rice for them, so they just think about the money. But right now we use the rugby and life skill together to more engaging to parents, understanding why we want their kids to join our program, and more beneficial, not just like money, but the knowledge, the skill that they can apply.
Yeah. And have you seen impacts in certain communities where the quality of life for the youth has changed? Maybe they've been less likely to get into trouble or substance abuse or things like that. Are you starting to see positive impact where they're picking up rugby?
Yeah, so with the Pacific curriculum, as it's grown over the years, it has the curriculum modules that young coaches learn how to deliver to youth players. Coaches are usually 16 to 25 years old, and players 11 to 13 years old. So it's a really young community. All the coaches are brand new to rugby before they join, or they might have come up as a player in the Pacific curriculum and then applied to be a coach. But they learn in the first, interaction with the coach training, they learn about how to teach the rugby, how to teach the life skills. It's all tag rugby based, so they can do it, they can play all over, like it doesn't have to be at a very nice pitch. And they also learn how to do team management, so like registering and also doing like preseason surveys and postseason surveys to try to track the change in knowledge, attitudes, and behaviors around key life skills learning. So from that, we're able to generate tons of data and analyze it and provide report to different stakeholders, donors, and to the rugby federations as well. And those reports are really used in the community as well in order to show the parents and the teachers, like our team, our community learned about leadership, learned about gender equality, learned about preventing violence, and then that really provides a lot of like support for the sport and buy-in from the community that really, if it were just rugby or just sport, they would say like, oh no, like you can't eat rugby balls, don't waste your time. That's not a good thing to do. But then with these learning outcomes, they're seeing it as like a non-traditional form of education and a good opportunity. And also for young coaches, like an opportunity for a part-time job and ability to support their family. Vieng has tons of stories of really smart, strong women coming through that pipeline, from coach to staff member to national team player, or coach to like pass it back tag coach to Lao national team coach. Is there anyone that stands out, Vieng, that you want to tell about?
เกี่ยวกับอย่างนี้
เล่าเรื่องเกี่ยวกับผู้หญิงคนหนึ่งที่เป็นแบบอย่างหรือว่าเล่าเรื่องที่ดีเกี่ยวกับผู้หญิงคนหนึ่งอยู่ในสังคม
a best story for Lao. It's her name is Lavongtheung. She live in Nong Hat from the far away in Vientiane. She started Pacific to be a volunteer in 2012, which just makes it we just started pilot in Nong Hat, and every year she learns a lot. Even she is the monk, she don't know how to speak Lao, she don't know how to use computers, and also I don't know if I can share, but the mindset of the community just want her to like stay home, just cooking, just married and have baby, taking care of babies. But when she joined our program, her mindset it changed. She want to have a better life on like learning how to speak Lao, how to work with the players, and upgrade her skill to have ability to work like even computer or the skill of coordinating. And right now she is the rugby development officer manager and in Siang Kuang, and she have 80 coaches to taking care and 1,500 players in her teams. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's great, because those are skills, right, that they could use in life. They could use in future businesses if they're running a municipality, right, a government ministry, a business, right? What you're teaching them are truly life skills that go beyond sports and go beyond rugby, which I think's really great.
Recently, Vieng ran like an alumni opportunity for players and coaches who've come through Pass It Back and then who've gone on to do other things. And, you know, they might not be playing rugby anymore, or they might just be really casual players. But there were so many really cool stories of male and female coaches who've gone on to, maybe they were on a track to be business, like learn about business in school and go on to business, but then they changed to be a teacher because they loved the work that they were doing with kids and around rugby and life skills. Or one young woman was planning to be an engineer, I think, and then she finished school as an engineer, but then she actually went into like project management and helping like with a social enterprise that's working with young people on different arts, music, different sports, and just getting more young people into that kind of work. So I think it's really inspired a lot of them to, you know, do great things in all their different areas of life outside of rugby as well.
Wow, that's great. Well, we want to jump over to Anna a little bit. Anna, tell us a bit about your career, and then we're really excited to hear about your experience with the Weredragons and Lao Rugby in general, but start with kind of a little more depth on your rugby career here in the U.S.
Absolutely. I wrote some stuff down so I didn't forget. As I mentioned earlier, it's been 6 years of playing this beautiful sport. I'm so appreciative because rugby has given me a wonderful community. If you know anything about rugby, it's a beautiful family wherever you are, even if you don't play on the same team. It's just this shared camaraderie and love for the sport, both here in the States and in Laos, as well as anywhere else in Asia that I've been able to play. But the first team I played for was in college. I played 4 years at the Claremont colleges. I was in Southern California for college. We played in a Division II conference. We did pretty well. We were runners up, or we were runner up. We played 15s and 7s, focused primarily on 15s, but I really loved 7s. So it really works out that I get to play with the Lao team because they play 7s. In college, I played mostly scrum half or halfback, though I also played wing and fly half. During my time at Claremont, I connected with Megan, I believe, over WhatsApp for the first time. And she put me in touch with Phil Groves in Chicago. And we met at rugby weekend in Chicago. And it was there that he shared more about the Weredragons, the opportunities to play in Lao with their touring side, and his vision for the Weredragons. And his whole vision is to connect Lao heritage players with Lao rugby. One, to explore your heritage in such a unique way, and two, to be surrounded by other Lao heritage players who aren't based in Lao. So later that year, I went on my first tour with them. We went to Vietnam and Laos and played in a tens tournament. So that was a once in a life opportunity. And it was through that experience that I was able to meet a lot of the Lao national team players and get to know them. And it was later that year that I was able to go on my first tour with the sevens team. My first cap was in Jakarta, Indonesia, I believe in 2019. And that was an awesome experience. So grateful to both Phil as well as the Weredragon family. It's a great group of support. And then let's see. And then COVID happened. So then I took a break during the COVID years. So this is my first year playing again, and I'm playing for the Berkeley All Blues women's team. Our team competes in Division II and in the Women's Premier League. The Women's Premier League, or WPL, is the highest level of women's rugby in the States. Not professional, semi-professional, trying to professionalize, but it's been such a wonderful opportunity because the coaching staff is great. And yeah, I actually just came back from Denver. We were competing for the national championship, and I ran into another Weredragon, which was always awesome. And in terms of my rugby goals, I'm very motivated to become the best rugby player I can be and win the highest levels of competition. I'd say what's unique about my situation is that while I'm a part of the Lao national team, I'm geographically so far, and it's hard to feel connected and practice and put in work with a team. But rather than dwelling on that, to me, it's motivation, it's fuel. In a way, it's purpose. It's always in the back of my head that whatever I'm improving and working on here will directly translate to my ability to make impact when I do join the team and play. So I always use that as motivation for me. But when it comes to my goals as a national team player, I just want to be able to make impact and be a positive influence with the team. Our team is rather young right now, but there's so much raw potential, raw talent, that the coming years will be so exciting for our team once the girls get more playing opportunities and we're able to practice together. I think the potential is limitless for this team.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about the Weredragons, in case some of our listeners know people or themselves would want to get involved. It's kind of unique. I haven't seen it. It's sort of like I mean, it's not a professional team or anything like that, but it's a collection. There are some non-Lao players, but basically what Phil's trying to do is bring players from all over the world, right, with some level of Lao heritage together. That's his goal, to play, right? So tell us a little bit more.
Right. I think the Weredragons started within his Chicago rugby club, and he had a vision for it to invite Lao heritage players to come on tour and visit Laos. Yeah. So throughout the years, it has slowly become more and more Lao heritage dominated. Although there are obviously players who are not Lao, they're very supportive. It's a great community. I'd say what's really special about the Weredragons is when I went on tour, we had Lao-Americans, we had Lao-Australians, Lao New Zealanders. Is that what you call them?
Yeah, he told me there was a New Zealander, yeah, or two. Yeah.
Um, Someone from
All
France who was
friends. Yeah.
Lao. So it was this really awesome melting pot of Lao heritage players going back to Lao and experiencing that via sport and via rugby. So I'm not quite sure what the criteria is to join. I believe it's just if you have any Lao blood, you can get in touch with the Weredragons. We're always looking for Lao heritage players. Even when
Yeah.
I go and play other teams, I look at the roster to see if anyone has any Lao-like names. So if you know anyone, please connect with us on Instagram. We have an Instagram, I think it's called Weredragons RFC. But I think the whole point is just to identify more Lao-Americans, Lao X people around the world and try to connect them to the Lao Rugby Federation
Yeah.
and see if there's an opportunity there.
Through our work, through the work Co and I are doing at the Lao-American Sports Hall of Fame, we've identified so many Lao heritage athletes in so many sports. I told Phil, I said, well, one option is to convert some of these people. Like you have
Yes.
Division I football players, right? That will probably, there's a couple, at least one that I think will make the NFL, maybe two, others that will narrowly miss, right? I mean, get them on the rugby
Right.
field, things like that. And there's women in other sports that we found as well that could maybe convert to rugby because you can't
Right.
keep playing football till you're 40. Rugby, you can, I mean, it's tough at that age, but you could play, I think, longer, maybe a little bit longer.
Hmm.
So, right.
Especially with women, I feel in the States at least, a lot
Yeah.
of women stop playing after high school or college. And we have a whole bunch of talented, athletic
Yeah.
women
Yeah.
who can pick up rugby in 1 to 2 years and then be at that high level playing caliber. So that's a
Yeah.
great idea.
Soccer players, you name it, whatever sport they're in, get them converted. We know some great talent out there, high school level and college level athletes that we discovered through this journey that we're on. So, well, that's great.
John, the Rugby World Cup is going to be hosted in the US in 2031 for the
Yep.
men and 2033 for the women. So I know there's a lot of work going on with USA Rugby and what Phil's doing
It
with
is.
Chicago Hounds and everywhere to really grow rugby in the US as well. So, in Phil's case, from Laos to the US, and in other cases, maybe some of that talent in the US contributing to Laos, or any of the rugby clubs across the US are in the area who want to come to tour. Vieng has the Vientiane Tens, tens tournament every year in late October, early November. So a good opportunity for clubs to come tour and visit with Lao heritage or not. Really,
Yeah.
lots of teams coming from all over the world. So good opportunity to visit
Yeah.
the country.
I think 2031 is going to be an exciting year. It sounds like it's forever from now, but it's not. It'll be here quickly. But even for rugby in the US in general, like the Chicago Hounds, talking to them, they could draw several thousand fans, 5, 6,000 fans, but compared to other sports, right? It's, I mean, you're drawing 50, 100,000 to like a Bears game. 2031 is an opportunity for the U.S. to see the sport, right, and learn about it. And it's kind of like a birthday party for here almost. And the other exciting thing about 2031, Ving, is that we have this Laos will be hosting the SEA Games again. And I'm excited about that because that's an opportunity for Laos also to maybe better showcase all this rugby talent that they're developing. So, well, something really exciting happened. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
เลี้ยงเป้าหมายคนเจ้าเกี่ยวกับรักบี้อนาคตอยู่ในปี2031มีอย่างบ่
2031 at first we need to have a pitch so my team can
Wow.
train and as I said the goal, yes, I would like to field the teams in SEA Games in Laos, but also the close like future plan, it's on 2024 we would like to have a exhibitions match for the youth game. The player on Champaban program, they can have a chance to represent the province, and also the federations can like show a rugby to another province or the youth tour. And on 2025, we would like to have the team to play in Lao national game, which is on 2022. We just have a exhibitions match.
Yeah.
That's all for the plan.
So there is not a professional level pitch in Laos that would be, let's say, acceptable for a major competition like the SEA Games? Is there?
Yeah. Yes, we have six stadiums in Laos, isn't
Yeah.
it? And the pitch that can use to play rugby is just a field pitch in Vientiane, but it's also a challenge for us to have access to use the pitch because it might some same date or same date with another sport, like except for the football, and we need to postpone the date of our competitions or move to another locations. But also this is the main goal for myself as the CEO, and also I share this to another federations too, that they said have a pitch, it's not the major things. But I also, well, in Laos we also need to have a pitch so the player can train, can have a better skill and a good represent for Laos. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Well, when I was over there shortly after or around the same time, you guys kind of hosted a visit from one of the top rugby players from the U.S.A, and I know in talking to the folks at the U.S. Embassy in Vientiane, they were really excited about that. They loved seeing that. Tell us a little bit about that visit and what it meant to rugby in Laos to have her come.
Megan Lavian.
Yeah.
Yeah,
ahead,
hosting Ilona visit Laos, it's really fun and excited. She is a great role model. I remember I talked to her. She is only um the most guests that come to Laos and get familiar with everything that Laos have. Even she can go to a house of the one of our staff. She cooking at the small kitchens. She cook papaya salad. She eat everything dark, even the dark blood, make it not
like
eat
lap
it.
bit. Yeah.
But she love it, yeah. And she like she not really think that she is a high professional and it's hard for people to touch or to talk to her. She is like I'm so happy to host her, and she is inspired for many coach and player in Laos. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's
It's
a
amazing.
great little video, folks. We'll put a link or something on our page to it soon, so you could check it out. Really amazing visit. Great collaboration between rugby in the U.S. and rugby in Laos. So, well, is there anything else? You talked a little bit about the future plans already. Is there anything else you want to tell us about the future of rugby in Laos? Maybe.
Yeah, I think what being mentioned is really exciting, and there's so many great sporting things coming up in the future. So Lao Rugby is really looking to take advantage of all of that. In 2020, Lao Rugby marked a huge milestone of becoming a full member of World Rugby, and so that was really following on like all the support from DAC and Phil and the Pass It Back curriculum and everything that Vieng and her team are working on to grow and develop the sport. So I think in order to take advantage of all the opportunities being mentioned around Lao National Games, around Southeast Asian Games, really Vieng and her team are looking at how to get to more provinces, to get more Champaban, Pass It Back teams up and running, and how they're able to just really grow the sport and make it a sport for everyone in the lead up to these next couple of years. So really excited to be a part of it, really excited to see it happen, excited to see the Weredragons coming back in next month in November for the Vientianes, because for a couple of years with COVID, we weren't able to welcome everyone back. So it'll be really good to see a lot of the group back next month.
Great. And so before we wrap up here, Anna, any advice you have for somebody who might be interested in giving rugby a try?
Oh, that's a great question. I think the biggest thing is keeping an open mind and going into it with an open mind. It's a very unique sport. It's obscure at first. Most people aren't too familiar with rugby in the States. So I think just having an open mind, if you played a sport before, a lot of your athletic skills will translate. A lot of it is about seeing space, being physical, being fast, hand-eye coordination, moving the ball. There's kicking involved, there's running, there's strength. So whatever sport you played, there's likely a position for you in rugby. That's one of the beautiful things about the sport is we have people of all body types, speeds, skills. There's somewhere for you on the pitch. So if it doesn't click at first, keep trying, keep going. It's a sport that kind of relies on all these unique skills coming together. So I think stick it out, give it a try. It's beautiful for the sport and as well as the community. So highly encourage people to give it a try.
Right now is a really exciting time because the Rugby World Cup is going on now. So this is a year of the Men's Rugby World Cup, and tomorrow is today Thursday? Tomorrow will be the semifinals. New Zealand and Argentina will play each other tomorrow, and then the next day will be South Africa and England. So exciting matches for men's 15s, but also there's a new competition globally for women's 15s, which is called WXV that's going on. And the U.S. women are playing this weekend in that competition in Cape Town. So you can follow the Eagles there. And then the sevens. So sevens is a little bit different version, but still rugby. But that's what Ilona plays. And that'll be kicking off their big season in December in Dubai. So really, there'll be a lot of exciting rugby to follow it just even in the next couple of months.
Oh, great. Well, we thank you guys for your time. This was a fun interview. Anybody have anything else they want to say before we wrap up? Megan or no? All right, folks. Well, that's it. Thank you for joining this episode of the C4 podcast. Sorry, Mr. Coach Ndeka could not be here this time. He will be back on our next one. This is our 49th episode. Stay tuned. We're going to be doing a 50 episode special next time. So thanks, everybody. We're out.
Thanks, John.
Thanks so much, John.
Yeah, good. Yeah, thank you. The C4 podcast is brought to you by the Lao-American Sports Hall of Fame. Visit us on the web at laoamericansports.com. Celebrating the first, inspiring the next.